I was going to say, is there still filming going on for that, or has most of the filming wrapped up and it's in
Well,
like an editing stage?
November 4th is probably going to be the last filming day.
Okay,
And
and most of this
that's,
is based around just drug-free strength athletes,
yep,
essentially from different walks, just
yep,
that their kind of story and
yep,
just
all
the
sizes,
mhm.
all, levels, ages, it's, we got some great interviews. I was, Rich Williams is often a pretty difficult guy
Yeah,
to pin down. And I think we spoke with Rich a total of 10 hours. You know, Richard Soren, I thought, he's a very busy guy. He runs that huge corporation and I mean, even though he's his son Bert is doing a lot of the work at the top now, he's still a really busy guy and there's a
yeah,
lot of demands on his time and we had asked him to do an interview, and I'm telling you, he sat down with us for 6 hours and gave us one of the greatest interviews that I've ever heard in my life.
that's
So,
awesome.
so I am like so stoked about this. I can't even tell you. And I went a little bit overboard when I wrote out the narration. I wrote 120 pages, type
Oh
double
wow,
space. Yeah. So I mean, I know they're only to take bits of it, but I just wanted to come up with the most thorough anti-PED case that I possibly could. And it's not like I made a straw man out of the arguments for. I looked at
yeah,
the arguments for very deeply.
yeah,
I abstracted them, as much as I could. And, I found all the common themes and I attacked it from a psychological, sociological, and, you know, competitive, again, I'm a purist, viewpoint, and certainly from a perspective of morality. I
yeah.
even used Lawrence Kohlberg's levels of morality to kind of pinpoint where somebody who would make those decisions would land, and so I mean, hopefully everyone will have a chance to see it. I mean, it's like I know post production takes a long time. They're in the
Yeah.
process of editing a lot of the interviews right now. But then after they edit, there's still like a 6 month legal process they have to go through. They have to, score the movie. So they have to, find, the buy the rights to use music for the movie. And that's a process. And,
Yeah.
then they go through the whole legal thing to make sure there's no way that any of us can get sued. And then they start shopping at the streaming services and the like. So it's probably going to be another year before we get to see the fruits of our labor. But my God, man, I've put so much work into this thing.
Yeah, I,
I
I
just
think it's you keep going, James. Yeah.
I was just going to say I'm unbelievably proud of the work I've done for it. Um, I just have to put faith in Morgan and his editor that they're going to be
Mhm.
able to piece it together and do
Yeah.
it justice. I got the sense that they're a little bit overwhelmed because there's just so much footage.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking
It
like single people having, 6 to 10 hour interviews, and it's
oh
like,
yeah,
and then you think about maybe condensing this into let's just say hypothetically, a 2 hour documentary. I
right,
mean, when you have individual interviews, and I could only imagine the amount of footage and having to try to piece that down, but get
yeah,
the point across and keep, clarity of what the message is. And it's not a job I would want to take on.
right. I've
So,
thought about it too. It's not a job
yeah.
I would want to take on either. But I've read over all the interview transcripts and everything, and it's a lot of content. And I really do think that, and I have faith that Morgan's going to do a great job. I've seen the work he's done in other films, and
Mhm.
and he's a very good filmmaker. And I think, I mean, I told him, I said, I don't want to influence your perspective. I want you to talk to people who are for steroids. Go for it.
Yeah.
You know, if you want, find, the biggest steroid abusing, justifying person in the world and just sit me down with them in a room. I would
Yeah.
love that. I would fucking love that. But I would love that. Like, let's
Yeah.
do it. You know, I I have no qualms with that at all. In fact, I invite it because I had a conversation like that at lunch one day. I was at this little Irish bar up the street here, and I'm eating lunch, and there's a guy there who's an attorney, and him and his buddy are talking about, baseball and steroids. And I was like, you know what? I don't normally do this, but here's where you're wrong. And this guy sat there and he argued with me for, I'm telling you, we were arguing for like an hour and 15 minutes. And at the end of it, you've given me things to consider about this that I never thought about before. And he's like, you ever think about becoming an attorney? I said, no. I said, you live in the world of narratives where you come up with a narrative for your client. My profession, therapy, that is the domain of the truth. It's not a narrative profession. We try to get to what is real and what is true. And the more that you deviate from what is real and what is true, the more pathological you are by definition. So anyway, I know I come across as morally superior and self-righteous sometimes, but well, what are you gonna do?
James, man,
we all have our faults.
Yeah, I just being there that one day when there was some filming going on for it, and you had some people kind of pulling off some feats of strength at the house, and it was all guys that don't use anything. Hanging out that day was fun, and kind of pulling some of those lifts with everybody was cool. And just knowing what took place that day, I could only imagine what other things you've done when you hit the road and filmed other people and all the content you got. I'm sure it's going to be awesome. So I know it might take a while for that to come out. It might be a year, whatever, but I think that's something I know I'm extremely excited for. And I think a lot of the listeners or anybody that's a fan of just integrity and strength or whatever the case may be, I think it's something that people should kind of, keep an eye out for if they follow you or anything, and just be on the lookout for that documentary, because I'm excited for it.